Welcome everyone to Glow Your Own 5. This is the craft session, and we've got a few new faces in the team that we'll introduce in a second, but we're going to be building all of our art and craft lantern housing that will form part of the Oxford Christmas Light Festival that's coming up in just over a week now. So Christmas is not just about presents, it's about coding. So we will be really excited to see some examples of lanterns while the nights get darker and darker. We can brighten it up with something fun. And Fusion is an organisation that's one of the partners in the Oxford Christmas Light Festival. And we will meet Carmen, if you're ready, to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in. So we're going to send you all a lantern kit at the end of the day, so you can attach your own light to the lantern. And the kit is gonna look like that, and it's gonna contain willow. I don't know if everyone knows what willow is. It's like a material which is quite flexible. You can make a lot with it. Tissue paper, a small willow, and tape. So also the kit contains instructions. So you can see here the things I was about to say, the ingredients, like the things you're gonna need for the pack, and step by step it's gonna show you how to make a star-shaped lantern. I'm gonna show you very quickly couple of lanterns I've got here. They are not the star shapes, but you can see how the samples are being done. This is like a triangular one, and it's kind of like the structure of the lantern. We're gonna put the tissue paper on top, and this is how the assembles are gonna look. I'm gonna show you now very quickly how to do them. So to do them, you just need to take two parts of the willow and to cut a bit of tape, not really long, because as longer you take it, more it's gonna twinkle. So it's much better to have it on a size you're gonna be able to manipulate it. Just take one corner of the willow and attach the tape in a way that you're kind of making a tail with an empty pocket here. On this bit, which is empty and open, just attach the other bit, properly squeeze it, and now you pass the tape in between and around, so you can make the assembled be solid and strong. So with this technique, you're gonna end up making a star shape. You actually need to make two, and after, with these small bits, using the same technique of rolling and rolling, you're gonna be able to glow it. As a lantern, when it's finished, it's gonna look as something like that. This is not, again, not star shape, but yeah, this is how the tissue paper looks like when it's dry. And to attach our lights inside, we won't leave any space where we're making it. After that, we're just gonna rip, or with a really sharp knife, make a small hole at the bottom, in the base. And I'm gonna use this light, so I'm gonna cheat a bit the coding thing. And yeah, you just attach it inside, and you can see the lantern is done. Whenever you get the star, it's the same. You just have to cut one side of the star, and here is even explaining to you how to do it. So you can use a long wire like the ones I've got here, attach them to your Arduino, and distribute all the lights around the star, so it can glow. And you can code it the way you want. And also, to attach the paper, you will need PVA and glue and water. That's something what the kit doesn't include, but you can just like get it. Everyone has it at home, or if it's not like at the school, you can find it. I just have like to I put the PVA onto the table, get the paper really wet, and after just like cover the structure of the star until it gets dry. Everything is explained here. We'd love to see you, everyone, on the 18th and 19th with your own lantern coming to the Light Festival and your own lights, obviously. And yeah, that's all.
Great. Thanks, Carmen. Some really cool stuff that we can send out. I've made this lantern kit myself once. It was really good fun to do. So willow is quite flexible. It's a really common and sustainable kind of material for making arts and crafts things. And the paper lantern looks really nice with one of our coded up LEDs, or even a static kind of still LED. I'm going to introduce Kathy, who's my colleague at the festival, so we'll find a way of spotlighting Kathy. Say hi, Kathy.
Hi, Dane. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I work with Dane on the festival, and I've got a couple of ideas of things that you could make using your LEDs. And as a bit of a cheat, I'm actually going to attach my LEDs directly to a coin battery rather than via an Arduino, which means they're either on or off. You can't have them kind of flashing or doing funky things. But it's just a way to show you how you might want to incorporate a light into something that you've made, perhaps by raiding your recycling bin. So here's a little example. This is a self-portrait. As you can see, it's even got the funny little twiddly bit of hair here. And I've just attached two different LEDs to the inside. And if you look carefully inside, you'll see that I've actually just attached them to coin batteries. So coin batteries, very, very easy to get hold of. They look something like this if you buy them in a packet. And you could get maybe 20 or so of these for about £5 or £6 from Amazon. So they're not terribly expensive. And if you were to attach an LED to a coin battery and just leave it, it'll probably stay lit for a good couple of weeks. So if you set it up a couple of weeks before Christmas, you could have it running right up till Christmas Day. So when you take your your coin battery out of the packet, one side of it is flat and has a positive symbol on it and some writing. So that's the positive side of your battery. And then the other side is slightly raised. This has a slight texture to it, and that's the negative side of your coin battery. Now, when you've been using these little LEDs, I'm sure you'll already know that they have a long leg and a short leg, which again relates to their positive and negative sides. And if I demonstrate, if I put the short leg in contact with the flat side of my coin battery, absolutely nothing happens. But if I turn it around and put the long leg of the coin battery, of the LED in contact, voila, it lights up. So it's the simplest circuit that you can possibly make, just attaching your LED to a battery. But you can then wrap a little bit of tape around that so it holds in place, and then you can use this in all sorts of different applications. So like I did here with my self-portrait, I poked the LEDs through a hole in this milk carton and then attached the battery on the inside. So another little demonstration piece I've got here is this little Christmas tree. So I'm using here some foam that's come as sort of packaging. When I've ordered something online and it's turned up in the post, it often has sort of foam or what's it called, polystyrene that comes as packaging. And this is really good for cutting out and turning into different shapes. So I've just created a little Christmas tree here. I'm going to poke my LED through from front to back and then attach my battery onto the back. And that's now lit up. It's not showing up terribly well on here, but I've got a red one showing on there. And again, I can just attach a little bit of tape onto the back of the battery so that I don't have to keep holding it forevermore. And I just used a piece of wrapping from some chocolate to go on the bottom there, and a little self-adhesive star on top. So you could then hang this on a Christmas tree or maybe prop it up in your window. And as I said, if you leave the batteries in place, just taped up together, it will stay lit for a good couple of weeks. So those are my suggestions for how you might want to incorporate things from your recycling into some kind of fun and interesting light up decoration.
So some really nice examples of how to make the lanterns portable and put them in things. And I think a few of us have got some recycling bits and pieces that we've raided. And because we've already built some of our circuits on our little breadboards here that might flash or respond to a press of a button or a light sensor, you can just find a way to extend the kind of reach of your LED over and above what it can do attached to the breadboard. So what I've got in my mind to show you now is how to possibly do that. So it's really simple, and you can see that with the finished product here that I've got, which is the LED that we're often familiar with. Thank you. And I've just wrapped some wire around it to make it so that I don't need to plug the LED directly into my breadboard anymore. I can make it as long as I want. So on the other end of this LED, and there's a really long piece of wire, are two exposed ends of metal. So you can put those, it's quite fiddly, but you can put those into the breadboard, and it means your LED can move around. So what we'd really like to see are some examples of maybe doing that. You could even have dangling wires. So you have to make sure that they're safe and not dangling too long, but you might have sort of dangling tentacles, or you might have other ways of arranging LEDs that just look quite exciting. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was on the very first session, I showed you an old box that we put together last time round, and I've got it back here actually, and I've put a little bit of plastic around it just as an example of how you might make it look a little bit different to just some LEDs in a cardboard box. So be prepared to be a little bit underwhelmed. So if I plug it in, it should flash up. So let me plug in my thing. So first of all, it gets very excited, and then it does that. So you can sort of make these really interesting effects, a bit like Kathy's creations that she made, just by using bits of materials from recycling that you might otherwise put in the recycling straight away, well, hopefully not throw away, but it might be that they have an extra life as a decorative material. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to gradually take this box apart, just so you can see how it's made. So you can see these bits of plastic and how they change the way the light kind of goes through. You can see it sort of sparkles a bit and diffuses, which is quite fun. But here I've got just standard LEDs flashing, and they're going round and round. And then inside this box, so this has been powered by one of those mobile phone charging things you can sometimes get, just a USB charging battery. So it means that you don't always have to have maybe a single-use battery. If you have one of these things, you could charge it and use it over and over again. But it might be that occasionally a single coin battery is quite good for you. So there's a couple of options there. But inside this box, as I kind of unwrap it, and it gradually exposes its wonderful design inside. So this is what you saw last time round on the first session, I think, where it was all really chaotic inside. Good tip is, if you're able to get little bits of sticky tape, you might want to put numbers on your extended wires, because it's really difficult then, once they're far away from the breadboard and the Arduino itself, to kind of find out and remember which one's which. So these ones go nicely in that circle because they're all flashing. So you can imagine the code that's in Tinkercad, there's just a forever loop, and there's set one pin high and the others low, and then it moves along 1 to 12 pins. So all 12 pins gradually have sort of half a second or so flashing. That's the green ones here. And then they're waiting for their turn. And obviously they're in the right order this time round. And if they're jumbled up, it will just sort of flicker and sparkle, a bit like what these other LEDs are doing down here. So they're all coded using very simple coding. But it's the creative aspect to it that can sometimes make things look a little bit more impressive than what they otherwise might be. So returning back to what's inside. So this is what we've got in the box here. And I'm going to show you how to make one of these little extender wires here. So I'm just going to place that to one side. And this is just called wrapping wire, and it's really safe for low voltage, low power kind of examples that we're using here. I wouldn't use it for anything much more powerful than an LED, I don't think. But these are fine to use and safe to use to create an LED wire extension. So what I'm going to do, if I can find my scissors, the scissors are over there. So if you just snip, so you can get any length of wire that you want. So I'm going to be a bit more adventurous and have that much. So I'm going to just cut it with a regular pair of scissors. It doesn't damage the scissors because the wire is quite thin. So these are just regular paper scissors. And if you've ever used that curling ribbon to wrap parcels up, sometimes you get the ribbon and you just take not even the blade, so you can keep the scissors closed, just the edge of a pair of scissors that's the sort of, it's not a sharp edge, it's just basically a corner of a piece of metal. And so you can just, like you might do with curling ribbon on a present, where you kind of curl it and it all springs up. And I think that's what Kathy did with her lovely hairdo on her plastic bottle creature. But you can just press the wire against the scissors and not press too hard, but hard enough to grip it. And you will, eventually, oh, that's a bit too much. So it's not the strongest wire, so it will break, but that you can possibly see there's a bit of it exposed. I'm just going to do that again because sometimes it does just snap. There we go. So now you've got a really nice, you can sort of see the wire there, I think. So the wire is exposed between here and here. So you've got almost 2 centimeters worth of exposed wire there. And I've done that on both sides to this piece of wire. I did one of them already. So if you have 2 of those made up, 2 of these little bits of exposed or prepared wire, you can get your LED here, and you can remember that there's a longer wire and a shorter wire. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can either just cross your fingers and hope, but if you get 2 different colors of wire, you remember that Sophie's quite keen when she's making circuits that the ground and the power supply and regular wires are all different colors, because it means that the wires then are a bit more easy to organize. So I'm going to get a bit of red wire in addition to my blue wire, and it might be that you get a random, there are all sorts of different colors, these bundles, and hopefully you'll get 2 different colors. I don't need to open them. Hopefully you get 2 different colors, and you can use this technique there. So I've got a piece of red wire that's got its wires exposed and a piece of blue wire that's got its wires exposed. And the reason why I've got 2 wires is because my red wire here is going to go on my longer leg. So, and it will help me remember that the longer leg is always going to be red, and you can obviously choose, it might be yellow or green or blue or black, it doesn't really matter. But if you just get your wire and your LED and choose which leg you want to attach it to, if you hold the bit of the wire that's still encased in plastic and the LED light part in your fingers at the same end, and start wrapping the softer wrapping wire around the LED leg, you've then got it attached once. And then what I tend to do is I tend to wrap, and then wrap even when the wire is still got plastic around it. So I've got an LED leg that's wrapped in wire, and then wrapped again in a little red plastic covered wire there. So you can see that one leg has been done. I'm going to do it with the other one, with the blue one, just to show you again. So with my exposed end and my leg in the same position, and the covered end and the light in one, I'm just going to wrap the exposed wire around the leg. There we go, just like that, just like that. And then do it again with the wrapping wire. I've now then got quite a secure LED that I know which one's the long leg and which one's the short leg, and I can have this LED quite far away from my breadboard. So I've got sort of 20 or 30 centimeters of wire that I can then take and put into my breadboard. Now this is the bit that's probably the most tricky, that I'm going to possibly take out some bits of this breadboard to make it a bit easier to do. So I'm going to take out my photoresistor because that's not helpful. So this is the tricky part. So I would fold the wire in half, and if you can, fold it in half again. And then if you can just twist the little bit of wire together, you'll have a little sort of tangle of wire. It's very difficult to see in this picture. We have a little tangle of wire, and then taking one of the regular jumper wires out of your board, you can then, if you place your new kind of wire, tangled up bit of wire, I'm going to try and do it on the camera here, and put it over one of your holes. If you then poke it in, this is very budget and very, very craft and make. If you then poke your wire into that hole, it will secure. And I sometimes go so far as even to make sure the bit that's covered in plastic also goes into that hole, because that locks it in a bit. You can then see that you've got your little piece of wrapping wire securely located into your breadboard. And so if you do that twice, and obviously you have to make sure that you've got the LEDs the right way around. So I was surprised at how quick that one was to go in, actually. I'll do it again to see, hopefully this one will go in again. Obviously I'm going to take out my my power supply and dear me, this is where it goes a bit wrong. So I'm just going to do that again, twist it, fold it over, twist it again, and then use my little jumper wire to poke it in. So it's really tricky, so please do bear with me. There we go. Right, second one is in. And now the slight problem is I put all of my bits of electronics. So I'm just going to reconnect all of those into the right places, and I'm going to plug it in, if I can find my port again. Oh, I've done that the wrong way around. So I'll just do a little quick change around of my configuration. Obviously, if I had a bit more doing, so I had a bit more time. There we go. Let's see. Let's plug this one in. What's happened here? Ground has gone out. And there we go. That's it. That should be working, and it's not working. So imagine that. But anyway, you can you can imagine how that light might work. So I'm going to save you the trouble of having to look at that anymore. So that's one example of how to lengthen your wires. I'm going to return to the thing that's now made, so you can see it. So if I go in to this board here, you can see that each of these, you can just about see that each of these wires is pushed into the breadboard and then wired up later on to make it flash just like that. So I hope that's made a bit of sense there. So I'm going to switch back to regular regular there. So that's my sort of example of how you might do something creative with your LEDs by lengthening the wires. And so I don't know if, so I think people are also making their own creations. I wonder if anyone has got anywhere with making craft creations, because otherwise I've got an example of making another plastic bottle alien or space or sea creature. So should I have a go at that?
I haven't quite finished mine. It's a flippity gibbet thing, but you know, it's nearly ready. But you do yours bit first, Dave.
So I've got a couple of bits of materials that I found in my recycling bin. I've got a plastic drinking bottle, and in addition to Kathy's lovely foam you get as packing materials, I did have before a piece of bubble wrap, which also comes with a lot of packaging. So I've got a few bits of clear stuff, but I've also got something that's metallic, which is quite fun. So a pie dish or a bit of foil can be quite good. So these are super shiny if they're clean. And you can do all sorts of with them to kind of house stuff. So one of the things that we'll be looking at next week is the servo motor, which is a really cool piece of kit that's a bit tricky to code, but we will get it working. And if you do get it working, and I've not attached this one yet, and I'll do this for next week, I've made something that articulates, which is quite exciting, I think. So you might be familiar with the way the hand works. So sometimes engineers work on things called bio-inspired engineering. So looking around the world and just seeing what else is going on in plants and animals and elsewhere in nature. And sometimes engineers work out what designs have been created by natural evolution and how humans can exploit all of that thinking and all of that kind of evolutionary processes that's gone on. So a hand, for instance, has tendons in it, but your muscles aren't in your hand. So the motor to power your hand is taken away from your actual hand itself. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but that's the way it works. When you have muscles that pull tendons, that mean that you can do this kind of thing with your hand. So you don't really have much muscles in your fingers. Sorry, it's not your hand, but your fingers. And so I've taken a bit advantage of that idea to create a little articulated thing. So all I've got is a bit of drinking straw. You don't even need a drinking straw, I don't think, but something that has a couple of bends in it, and you can thread a bit of string through one end and a string through the other end, and if you pull it, you can make it sort of almost like a puppet, like that. So it doesn't move very far, so you can see my hand moving not very far, but you get quite a big movement in these kind of cantilever sort of structures there, which is a little bit similar to kind of how your hand works, you see. So it might be that if you want to kind of use something that's inspired by engineering that's around you, there's often loads of ideas online, and we can't possibly kind of send information about all of these kind of ideas that we're sharing today, but you will have the lantern pack with instructions. But there might be some ideas about using levers and pulleys, if you kind of search for those online, that when we kind of get the servo motor built into the electronics next time round, you might be able to add a kinetic dimension to it. But that's just thinking about another use of shiny materials and possibly adding some movement. And you might even imagine using elastic bands, or maybe even using kind of a windmill design where you might kind of attach your lights to the motor, and then your lights might track in an interesting way. But even just, I'm going to show you in a few minutes that you can make something really simple just with some very straightforward materials. So I've got here some bits of sort of, it's another piece of packaging actually. I get so much, it's amazing what packaging you get. So whenever you find a good piece of packaging, keep it and put it in the drawer for craft projects. So I've just got these little pieces of plastic. And the nice thing about this plastic bottle was that the label didn't come off very well, so it's left it all sticky. So I can just stick little bits of paper to this, and if I wrap it up in a piece of bubble wrap, which is also just sticking to the plastic bottle, it's really amazing. You can immediately have something that might look a bit like a ghost, or a sea creature, or an alien. And so sometimes it's quite fun to imagine these things as real creatures. I'm just going to cut that off and put that away. And so in not very much time at all, you can see that there's a bit of movement to it. So this thing could be attached to a piece of string, a bit like Kathy's item, and it could just be hanging in a room somewhere, and you could put some lights inside it. And if my light was working, I would have put it inside, and you would have seen it kind of glow. And it means that you don't have to attach your Arduino and your breadboard to something that would otherwise be quite delicate, because you can just have one of these LEDs that you've lengthened, and you could maybe put that through the top of the bottle, and you could have, it's a shame that it's not working, but you could have a little light in there that's just looking all mysterious and playful, like a little sea creature. So I think that might be my offering for ideas. So excellent.
I'm not very good at emojis, but I've made a thing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't. I'm going to. I wasn't very good at the wrapping of the wires. I'm not very. It's really fiddly, and I find that kind of thing
really fiddly. Yeah, it takes a bit of practice.
And so I'm going to join with Arduino Cam in a second. But I think maybe Thomas or Tristan have some stuff that they could show first.
I've tried making a thing, but similarly, it's tricky. What I'm trying to do is, so I looked at the little row of LEDs that are programmed up, and I thought, what if they were like bigger, glowier shapes? So you can see that I've reused some note paper, and now they're in these fun, glowy, puffy, almost like popcorn looking things, rather than just one little glowy LED.
Really
but
cool.
I think if the paper was a bit thinner, if I had maybe some tissue paper, it'd work a bit better. It'd go a bit brighter, more glowy. You could see it better in my office lighting. Yeah, that's what I've got.
Your office lighting is quite bright. Is there a light switch that you can?
One sec.
But anything about changing, I think that's a really nice idea. Changing the shape of your LEDs into something different. Kathy's used some foam, Tristan's used, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you can see it better. That's good. It almost looks like the whole thing is glowing. It's like a massive crystal.
Yeah, weird.
That's so cool. That's definitely, maybe I don't want to show mine. It's not as good as Tristan's, everyone.
I want to see yours, Sophie. I want to see what you've made.
But
Don't be shy.
It's a thing. It's just a weird thing that was
I
going
think
to
it's
be a robot.
highly abstract. Is it highly abstract, or is
It's
it?
very abstract, yes. It's just, I'm just preparing it. I wanted it to be really, in my brain, in my head, it was really cool. But then, just gonna start the video. All right, can you see? Look, it's a thing. Oh, can you spotlight Arduino Cam, because I don't have any hands free to spotlight it.
Spotlight. Wow! Oh, I like it.
I wanted it to like. You see, it's working better with the red one, where it's like reflecting around the tinfoil. I wanted to make it a different shape like Tristan, but Tristan's idea was much better and actually worked more.
I don't know, actually. I like this one. You can, on camera, you can see, is it green? I'm colorblind.
Yes.
So I can see the green. It looks nice, actually, kind of coming out of this sort of silvery cave.
Yeah.
And it's just an egg box and some foil, and you've made it. That's cool. I like it.
I think it looks a bit the geode.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant it to be. It's a
Yeah.
geode, everybody.
I think including maybe Tristan's idea of the origami lantern housings inside there might be, you could even almost make glow up eggs.
Yeah.
Like glow up square eggs or something. I like it.
Yeah. So
It's an
all right. Does anyone else have it? I could just carry on showing you this if you like. But if anybody else has things to show, that would be cool.
Let's see where we've got to. I still haven't managed to make my extended wire work properly yet, so I don't quite know what's going on there.
I did cut my wire about 4 times instead of just take the edges off it, because I'm not very handy with scissors like that.
It is tricky actually to do it that way, but it takes a bit of practice, and we'll send. There's enough wire in the stuff that we're sending out for you to make a couple of mistakes, so it's not a problem. So where's I lost the chat box now? Oh, well, I can see someone's put some smiley pizza and cool in there, so I think that must be for your egg box, I reckon.
No, that was before the egg box.
Oh, was it? Oh. Well,
It was. It definitely.
I like the egg box. It looked good, and the pizza's given me some inspiration. I'm not going to be quick enough now, but I think you could make use LEDs as like as per the pepperoni slices, and yeah, I might try and have a go with the pizza. Let's see if there are any other emojis that look like they could be turned into something cool.
Pizza. And what's Kathy got here?
So I happen to have an owl skull in my house because who doesn't? So I'm just working out whether I can find a way to make its eyes light up. It's just finding where to actually insert the light, but something like that. Let me just turn a few lights off in my house.
It's the light behind. If it's easy to turn the light behind you off, that's. Yeah.
I'm going to plunge myself into darkness now.
That's what. If you're going to be showing us an LED lit up owl skull, I think it needs to be. That's it. Oh, I can just about.
It's not showing up terribly well. But
yeah, it's kind of. You can sort of see it coming.
You can see a little glow.
But it might be the screen from the computer as well. It might be kind of lighting up.
Yeah.
I can definitely see an eerie glow coming out of this ghostly. So Kathy happens to be a zoologist, so she's not just picking up all bits of dead animal for fun. She's doing it for a scientific interest, and also because she enjoys animals in all different ways. There'll be things around the home, so you don't even know. I think that's a really nice example, actually, Kathy. Thank you. There's so many ways you could put LEDs in. If you have maybe a cactus or a small plant pot or something, you could probably find a way of embedding an LED. So you could take the jump on the Christmas idea and maybe just light up a small house plant somewhere. So Kathy's got. Here we go. It's like, on demand ideation. So you might have a twinkly. You could almost, I wouldn't go so far as to say you could have a water sensor on there, but you could have a sensor that when it's dark, it lights up the plant. There we go, look at that, that's nice. So you could almost use your light dependent resistor to make it so that your plant is always illuminated. So there we go. So I hope that's some good ideas. I don't know if we have any more ideas that we'd like to show. So yeah, I think that's some of our ideas for you. I don't know if anyone has any questions about some of the techniques that we've used using reflection, found objects in the home, recycling, reflective objects, transparent or translucent materials, lightweight things. I've used fully opaque cardboard to kind of embed these things into, which works quite nicely. And if you're anything like probably most of us on the call, you're forever getting bits of cardboard in the post with packaging in it when buying things from online retailers. So hopefully they can have a second life before they get thrown into the recycling bin and sent away. But I don't know if there are any questions or ideas, and if they're not, so that's what we were going to do. So we could re-put the Kathy, would you, if you're on the computer, are you on your
I'm on the iPad.
I might just, if you could find the maybe I'll just do it, it'll be easier. Let's do it. I'm just going to find the link. I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you haven't managed to do your Arduino kind of order, you can make sure that you have the link now. So everything will just try and find. If anyone has that link to hand, that would be great. Oh dear, I'm so slow at finding things in my email. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put the form that we're using into the chat now. So this is to order the Arduino kit, but also just to give us your postal address. Oh, I've just sent that to Sarah. Why have I just sent that to Sarah? Versus everyone, sorry. And if you want to then participate in the Oxford Christmas Light Festival, you can do it from your windowsill at home, or you can do it in Blackbird Leys, where we will be in a few weeks' time. And there's Cutstow Park and Florence Park. Carmen, there's other places. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening in the Light Festival on the 18th and 19th of November?
Yeah, so I mean, as everyone knows, it's going to be taking part at Florence Park, and there's going to be a parade where everyone is going to go around like with the lanterns they've made. Also, there's going to be later live music, food, and drinks. Yeah, it's going to be like a small festival there where like the park is going to be all decorated. Like I've shown you like this like a small version of a lantern. I've got like a small, bigger than that one here. So we're gonna have, imagine this one, so really tall, like maybe like 2 meters of like, so, and all the park is gonna be like filled of that. And yeah, we have done like so many workshops. Like there's not any kind of like free entry workshop right now, but that's why we're sending the kits, so everyone has the opportunity to make a lantern and to be part of the parade, for example.
I think, Sophie, you making gestures of more making, is that what you're
Well, so last weekend I was, or maybe the weekend before, it was Jamboree on the Internet, which is a big scouting festival, really loads of fun. And what we, and as part of Jamboree on the Internet, you talk to scouts from all over the world, but you also do a traditional, to get your international badge, you have to do a traditional craft from another country. And so we had people at the lab, we had some scouts at the lab, and we made some Chinese paper lanterns and learned about the different colors, so in China, traditionally, you make a paper lantern in order to make a wish, and the different lanterns, different colored lanterns rather, sorry, mean you're wishing for different things. So like if you use a red lantern, then that's looking then you're wishing for wealth, which I would quite like, but different lanterns mean different colors. So we made some really simple ones that you can just make with a piece of paper and scissors and some sellotape. So if you, oh gosh, I'm going to take my, if I do this. So I've just got a piece of scrap paper with me here. I don't actually know what white wish is for. Oh, someone might have been there with me. I can't remember which scout groups we had. I'm just going to take my background off so you can see me more clearly. But yeah, we could well have done had Grove Scouts, because we're not very far from Grove. All right, so you take your paper, it's just a piece of scrap paper, and then you fold it in half like that. So now it's like that, and you take some scissors, and along the edge that you have folded, perpendicular to that edge, you make some cuts like that. And you can investigate with how wide strips you want to do. Just don't cut all the way to the end. So you see my cuts only go up to about that far, and then you do that all the way down like this. Oh. Trying not to cut anything. Oh yeah, sorry, that would have been a good idea to shut like me beforehand. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. So like that, and then I'm going to take one right at the end that I'm going to cut all the way along. So I'm left with two pieces of paper. Okay, so I've got this, which has got cuts all the way around there. Then you open it up and you bend it around into a tube shape.
Look at that.
You do it like this. Like that. And then you just get a piece of sticky tape and sellotape the ends like this. So that it sticks together. And you have a nice little lantern. And that last piece of paper that you cut off, you can open up and then attach to the top as a handle. So a little bit more sticky tape. To one side and then to the other. And so you've got a nice little lantern. And what we did is we coded Arduinos just like we have all been doing together. And we put our Arduinos inside here so that you could see the lights coming out through the gaps in the thing. We also decorated it, but you need to remember to decorate it with like we just use felt tip pens before you stick it together, because it's really hard to decorate it like that. What you could also do is cut little holes in it, in them, and then cover it up with like sweetie paper, that translucent. What's it called? Anyone know? Like the kind of, pardon?
Cellophane.
Cellophane. Thank you. So the different coloured cellophanes, you can make little windows through there, and then you can see them through. To come along like that. So that is a really simple craft thing that you can do. If you're like me and are not actually very good at craft things, then you can just do that and then make it as beautiful as you like with stickers or with tracing pictures onto it, to make it as Christmassy or as whatever. It could be Christmassy, it could be all about Saturnalia or any of the different festivals of light that are around this time of year.
You could make all sorts of designs, couldn't you? You could even imagine if someone really wanted to, they could not cut their paper and they could just pierce holes in the paper. Yeah. And you could copy out constellations of stars and things. You could do all sorts, just with really simple materials and just a bit of imagination. So Sophie, I disagree with you saying that you're not creative and crafty at all. I think that's a really great idea.
Oh, creative! I can do the creative bit, but I'm just not very good at the making stuff. I'm creative in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely are. But there's loads of examples. I don't even know how many we've got to. I haven't even been counting. There's I'd say a dozen different examples there to do something crafty with lanterns as the lights are getting in, and and maybe we want to do something in an evening that's relaxing. Sometimes making a little lantern casing might be quite good fun. Next week is the last session, and I think we're going to be adding a kinetic dimension, which is always my favourite, but it's really difficult to do. I find it difficult to do, but it should be quite fun. So thanks so much for coming. Thanks, Kathy and Carmen, for joining us today. As usual, it's been great to see Sarah, Sophie, Jan, Tristan, Caitlin, and James and Jamie. So thanks so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time when we do some more coding. But meanwhile, do enjoy crafting, and we'll see you soon.